I'm Dr. Larry Huntoon, for those of you who don't know. I'm editor-in-chief of the Journal of American Physicians and Surgeons, and since 2004 I have served as the chairman of the AAPS Committee to Combat Sham Peer Review. I'm going to be talking to you today about sham peer review disaster preparedness and defense. This is going to be information that I hope will be helpful in terms of preparing in the unlikely or unfortunate event that you become a victim of sham peer review. And I will also be talking about what to do and what not to do after a hospital has launched a sham peer review attack against you. So I'm going to be talking about both general and specific things that you can do to basically be prepared. And disaster preparedness basically focuses on four things. Number one, things you can do to improve the practice environment and to make sham peer review less likely to occur. Number two, being aware of risk factors for sham peer review. Number three, things you can do to make yourself less of a target for sham peer review. And number four, things you can do to put yourself in a better position to survive and fight back against a sham peer review attack. Here's the disclaimer. There are no magic bullets here. If a hospital and/or unethical colleagues are intent on ruining or ending your medical career via sham peer review, there is nothing you can do that will be 100% effective in preventing it. So here is the sickle approach to disaster preparedness: support, information, conduct, knowledge, lifestyle, and education. First and foremost, I think it's important that ethical physicians support good faith peer review. I fully support good faith peer review, as does the AAPS. The only type of peer review that we strongly oppose is the bad faith type of peer review, that is, those who abuse the peer review process for some improper purpose. We strongly oppose that. Good faith peer review should be collegial, educational, fair, done for the purpose of improving quality care and protecting patients, and it should incorporate substantive due process and fundamental fairness for the physician under review. So just so everybody's on the same page, this is the definition of sham peer review. Sham peer review is an adverse action taken in bad faith by a professional review body for some purpose other than the furtherance of quality health care, and that is disguised to look like legitimate peer review. It's a way of abusing the peer review process, taking a wrongful action against a physician, and essentially just calling it peer review. Information. You need to arm yourself with information. Read the materials we have published in our journal on the journal website and things we have put on our AAPS website. We have published something called Tactics Characteristic of Sham Peer Review, which basically represents the hospital playbook on the tactics they use to conduct sham peer reviews. You can find this in volume 14, number 3 of the journal. And you need to be aware of some of the risk factors for sham peer review. I'm not going to review all of them with you here today, but note that if you are a physician who believes in speaking up when you see quality care problems, patient safety problems in the hospital, sometimes characterized as a physician whistleblower, this will place you at risk for a sham peer review. We've also been able to identify certain high-risk specialties, that is, those specialties that tend to get attacked more frequently than others, and you can see what some of those are there. Conduct. You need to be professional in your conduct at all times, and your conduct, more importantly, needs to always be patient-centered. Remember the AAPS motto, omnia pro agrato, which in Latin means everything for the patient. As always, you need to practice good medicine, stay current, stay organized, and keep information files to support the treatments you provide, particularly if those are new or innovative treatments that may be questioned. Practice according to the golden rule: mutual respect, don't be a jerk. These are things that can help prevent you from being attacked. And don't let anger control your actions. Think before you act, speak, or write. Remember, there are certain employees and other people in hospitals who are very adept at button pushing. They know which buttons to push to get a reaction out of you. And if you react out of anger and do something or say something, it may come back to bite you later, because they may portray you as a disruptive physician, they may prosecute you as a disruptive physician in the hospital, and that in some cases can end your medical career. You also need to be aware of the sham peer review Miranda warning. Anything you say or do can and will be used against you in a kangaroo court in a sham peer review proceeding in a hospital. Knowledge. You need to know and read your medical staff bylaws ahead of time, particularly the corrective action sections and the peer review hearing and appeals procedures. You need to know the names and addresses of hospital board members and their relationships with the hospital administration. You need to know who is on your medical executive committee and what their relationship is with the hospital administration. In recent years, hospitals have learned how to gain majority control of the medical executive committee through employed physicians, exclusive contracts, paid directorships, and other financial arrangements which make physicians on the MEC financially dependent on the hospital. If a majority of your MEC members are financially dependent on the hospital, you could have a real problem if a peer review comes up. Be vigilant with respect to any proposed changes in the bylaws or procedures that affect credentialing or peer review. This is in red because these are things you really absolutely need to do. The medical staff needs to vote to deauthorize the MEC to act on behalf of the medical staff with respect to any proposed changes to the medical staff bylaws, rules, regulations, or policies that affect peer review and credentialing. If you don't do this, and if the MEC is authorized to act on your behalf in these matters, and the hospital has gained majority control of the MEC through the relationships I just described, guess what? They then essentially have control of the peer review and credentialing in your hospital. By the way, this action that I've recommended here is fully compliant with MS, the new JCAHO standard known as MS .01.01.01, which goes into effect in March of this year. So don't let them tell you that it's not compliant. It is fully compliant with that new JCAHO standard. Medical staffs also need to retain its own independent, knowledgeable, competent attorney to advise the medical staff with respect to any proposed changes to the bylaws or other matters so as to protect medical staff self-governance and quality care in the hospital. Do not rely on the advice to the medical staff provided by hospital counsel. Lifestyle. You need to live beneath your means, carry a low debt load, establish an emergency multi-purpose fund. If you get attacked by a sham peer review, you're going to need money to defend yourself and to survive. You need to protect your family with a current updated will and life insurance, because some sham peer reviews have ended in death or suicide, and your family needs to be protected in the event that that happens. Education. You need to educate yourself and your colleagues about sham peer review. Copy and distribute the AAPS articles on sham peer review. We've published quite a number of them. Consider holding educational forums on sham peer review for local physicians so as to educate your colleagues. In terms of specific preparation, that is those things that you should do specifically by way of preparation before a sham peer review occurs, is you need to be choosing an attorney. And it needs to be an attorney with experience in the area of sham peer review. Ask other physician victims of sham peer review in the area for their recommendations, or ask AAPS. Sometimes we know attorneys in your area that have experience in these issues. You need to choose 3 experts in your specialty and write down their contact information and familiarize yourself with their work via specialty meetings and literature. And you need to be politically aware and astute. Sham peer review is about politics and abuse of power. You need to be aware of your political surroundings, alliances in the hospital, and turf battles that may be ongoing. You need to get to know 1 or 2 members of the hospital board and 1 or 2 members of the MEC. This will help in terms of providing an early warning system in cases where hospitals implement or plan to implement a secret attack against the physician. Believe it or not, there are hospitals out there that do keep secret files on certain targeted physicians. They solicit, collect, and compile this adverse information, and then at the opportune time, they bring all this forth and use it in an opportunistic attack via sham peer review against the unsuspecting physician. Knowing these strategic persons also may help in terms of providing you updates on ex parte information being marshaled against the targeted physician. This happens all the time. They have all sorts of communications that go on behind closed doors about the targeted physician or the accused physician when the physician or the physician's attorney is not present to defend himself. Number 3, knowing these strategic persons also helps to provide communication in the other direction. That is, your ability to get the truth of the matter to strategic members who might be able to advocate on your behalf. You also need to know who your friends are and who your enemies are. Mutual aid in this circumstance can be beneficial. Support and network with a trusted ethical group of physicians in the hospital such that if a sham peer review attack arises, ethical physicians can band together to support and advocate on behalf of the physician who's being wrongfully attacked by the hospital administration and unethical physician colleagues. You need to volunteer to serve on strategic committees of your local medical society, those committees that support high standards in terms of ethical conducts of physicians, and you need to maintain good community relations, volunteering to serve as a resource for the media and participating in media-sponsored educational programs. You need to maintain a professional and constructive approach to problem solving with respect to quality care deficiencies and patient safety problems in the hospital. That is, it's okay to complain about substandard care in a hospital and patient safety problems in a hospital, but you need to do it the right way. As always, you need to enlist the help of other ethical physicians in addressing these quality deficiencies and patient safety issues with the hospital administration, because there may be some safety in numbers. Also, it's good to put these types of complaints in writing, send them certified mail with delivery confirmation, and maintain all of this information in an organized file so later on, if it comes up, they can't say that they were never told of hospital substandard care or patient safety issues. You need to take reasonable progressive steps in an attempt to obtain corrective action by the hospital. Do not harass or threaten anyone. If the hospital refuses to take appropriate corrective action, then ethical physicians are duty-bound to report the hospital to outside agencies so as to protect patients. Documentation. You need to be a meticulous documenter. If you deviate from a hospital-mandated treatment protocol, for example, you need to document extensively as to why that was medically necessary or necessary to provide optimal care for that patient. In high-risk situations, for example, if a patient's signing out AMA, there's a patient or family complaint or a disagreement with a colleague about patient care or treatment, you need to document that in a positive and factual manner. Do not engage in chart wars with other physicians or nurses, as this will definitely come back to bite you. Hardware. This is sort of the James Bond portion of this talk. There's a lot of neat hardware out there which you may find useful. And one of the first things you should do is check the AAPS website under a section entitled Summary of Consent Requirements for Taping Telephone Conversations. This will tell you state by state whether you're in a one-party or a two-party state in terms of how many parties have to be notified of the covert recording. And this is, by the way, one of the most frequently visited portions of the AAPS website. Number 2, you need to carry with you a small, concealable, multifunction digital recorder at all times. Again, this is preparation before anything happens. Obtain a high-quality, concealable audio-video recorder with time-date stamp so it will be readily available for use if a sham peer review attack is launched against you. And you can't be fumbling around with these things at the time that you need to use them. You need to be proficient at using them before that situation arrives, and you need to practice. These come in all sorts of sizes and configurations. This is a multi-function video and audio recorder, which also records off of cell and landline phones. It's small enough to put in your pocket and would be something that would be easy to carry around with you on a regular basis. High quality, concealable, color, audio-video, date timestamp, remote controlled digital devices with easily transferable files to computers can be found by doing an internet search on the term body-worn cameras. And again, these come in all sorts of configurations and types. Some look like cell phones, keys, key fobs, watches, glasses, pens, pagers. This one happens to be a buttonhole camera, very tiny, color, and it basically, this is what it looks like. You can't see it when it's worn. It just looks like a regular button. Again, you can have some of these are embedded in glasses. This is probably one of the thinnest audio-video recorders that I found on the internet. This one is actually like an ID card. That's how thin this is. And presumably this could be customized to use your hospital ID card as what people see. If you get into one of these situations where you've been invited to one of these informal, friendly meetings by your hospital administration to discuss some issue, and they don't tell you exactly what the issue is before you get there, and you get into the meeting and you find out that the meeting is neither informal nor friendly, you may want to be wearing one of these. And this is an audio-video recorder that's embedded in a tie with a remote control that you can place in your pocket. These come in varieties of different types and colors of ties. Also, there's the circumstance, in some cases, hospitals will not permit you to take your attorney into one of these meetings that discuss peer review issues or other conduct problems or things like that. And without getting into the legal aspects of that as to whether that's a legal thing to do or not, you can, by using this device, basically have your attorney, experts, or anyone else you want in the room with you at the time one of these informal, friendly meetings that's going on with your hospital administrator and hospital counsel. This little device that you see the person pointing to there is completely concealed in the ear canal. You cannot see it. It is linked to a wireless transmitter which goes around your neck and you wear underneath your clothes, which is hooked to a microphone, and it's also hooked to a cell phone. So what you do is you call your attorney right before going into the informal, friendly meeting with your hospital administrator, and your attorney, experts, whoever you have on the other end of the line can hear every single word that's being said in that meeting, and more importantly, may be able to advise you as to what to say and what not to say in that meeting via this little earpiece that fits entirely in the ear canal. So here's an actual transcript from one of these covert phone recordings that actually was occurred in an actual case that went to trial. It's worth it to read some of this. Physician: well, this whole thing, you know, makes it look like there's a big target on me, and I don't feel comfortable even setting foot in the hospital. And I think this whole thing has been some ruse to get me out, because there were people that were mad that patients were being transferred from the hospital to another hospital because there's better quality of care for heart surgery. President of the medical staff: I won't sit here and tell you that this is not entirely possible as an agenda, as a covert agenda on the part of the hospital administration. I have not heard them say it, but they also know that I go to both places. Again, I can't say it as something that I know for a fact, but it would surprise me if that weren't part of it. Physician: I mean, I don't see any good faith on anybody's part over there. Through all of this, you know, if there was some question of quality of care, something, you know, first thing the former president of the medical staff should have done was picked up the phone. Doctor, I need to talk to you. What happened? President of the medical staff: I agree with you. Then he should have called. I agree wholeheartedly. This, off the record, this whole thing was handled poorly by the former president of the medical staff. You and I both know that. I'm caught in the middle of this. I'm a wimp. I'm caught in the middle of it. Physician: well, at some point you need to have to stand up and say, I'm not putting my name on it because I don't agree with it. What do you think the jury thought when they heard that? This case ended, by the way, went to jury trial, ended with a verdict in favor of the physician and a multi-million-dollar award for the physician. You need to plan for some alternate source of income in the event that you are attacked. In some cases, you will be able to continue practicing medicine. In some cases, you may not have the ability to practice medicine anymore. So you need to be thinking about, before it happens, what could I do, both from a medical standpoint, or if I'm not able to practice medicine anymore, what type of occupations could I go into and actually earn an income? You need to develop a written emergency defense plan, a step-by-step plan with names and contact information for strategic persons you will need to contact, your attorney, hospital board members, experts, the media. This needs to be a step-by-step 1, 2, 3, 4 written plan. Review and update the emergency plan on an annual basis to make sure all contact information is current, and practice. That is, do a run-through of the plan on paper on an annual basis to make sure that everything is there when you need it. This is sort of the fire drill for your medical career, so you're not caught unawares and your medical career burns down. Now we're going to say a few words about defense. First of all, if you file a lawsuit against a hospital for some wrongful action they've taken against you in the name of peer review, be aware that there are no slam dunk wins, that the physician victims face a very uphill battle in the courts, largely due to the nearly absolute immunity provided by HCIII law, the judicial doctrine of non-review, and something known as the objective test, which has been established by case law and which applies to certain reasonableness standards under the HCIII law, section 11.112a, paragraphs 1 through 4. Defense basically focuses on organization and strategy for surviving and fighting back against a sham peer review. Number one, you need to establish a war room. Practicing attorneys that are going to a trial do this, and you need to do it as well. Keep all of your information and materials in one place in one room. You need to implement the pre-planned written defense plan. Number three, you need to take audio-video recorders with you wherever you go. You never know when somebody's going to step up to you from the hospital and admit that what's going on is wrong, and they're a wimp. They can't do anything. They feel that they're caught in the middle, and it sure would be good to have something like that on tape later on to play for a jury. Do not communicate with anyone about your case on hospital phones or via hospital-based email for obvious reasons. Number four, you need to develop a factual brief and keep a timeline of events. You need to have an organized information package. Nothing will help your attorney and experts more than an organized 2 to 3 page factual summary of what happened, along with a list of key players and key documents. Keep a diary of pertinent daily occurrences and keep your ethical colleagues informed. Remember, the secrecy of sham peer review protects the accusers, not the accused. You also need to organize materials for a possible going public campaign involving media, patients, and hospital board members. Number five, you need to make sure there's an independent record of every hospital peer review hearing, even if you have to pay for a court reporter yourself. An independent record of these peer review hearings in the hospital is invaluable in any subsequent lawsuit against the hospital and bad faith peer reviewers. If the hospital refuses to allow you to obtain and pay for a court reporter, which sometimes happens, file a written objection or have your attorney file a written objection with the hearing officer and utilize the concealed audio-video recorders as state law permits. Number six, contact your experts to ensure their availability if they are needed. Recognize that they will need some time to review the patient charts and they will need to clear their schedule if live testimony is needed. Number seven, stay in close contact with friendly hospital board members and MEC members. Again, this is your communication link to what may be going on behind closed doors that you need to know about. Number eight, if you are still practicing in the bad actor hospital, remember the sham peer review Miranda warning. Recognize that it is dangerous to continue practicing at the bad actor hospital and take action to move your surgeries and or practice to other hospitals. This has the dual effect of limiting your exposure at the bad actor hospital and reducing the hospital's revenue stream. Also, you need to consider a back-to-the-future approach to chart documentation. Once you're under the gun for sham peer review, you need to be real careful about how you document in the records, not that you shouldn't anyway, but you need to take what I call a back-to-the-future approach. If somebody comes to you with a record today and says, "Doctor, this documentation you have here, it doesn't really show that you provided standard of care in this case," think about what type of documentation you would have liked to have had in that record, and that's the way you should document contemporaneously. Number 9, re-review the tactics characteristic of sham peer review. Remember, this is the hospital's playbook that they basically use on how to conduct this type of abusive peer review against you. If you recognize any of the tactics the hospital is using against you, tactics which violate due process and fundamental fairness, including violation of medical staff bylaws, then you should consult your attorney about filing a lawsuit against the hospital seeking a preliminary injunction based on abuse of the peer review process. Number 10, be careful. Recognize that when you file a lawsuit against a hospital or hospital chain, you are filing a lawsuit against a very powerful and wealthy entity. Be careful. Based on reports from physician victims of sham peer review, it is prudent to be appropriately cautious in your daily life. This may include checking your tires before you get into the car. Here's an actual case used with permission, showing a tire where basically one of these box cutters was carefully inserted. This doctor hired a forensic tire expert who apparently informed him that there are people who know how to do this so that the tire will not go flat immediately, but when the doctor gets out on the interstate or thruway going 75 miles an hour, the tire blows, the car rolls over, the doctor dies. It looks like an accident. In some cases, this has been done on the inner aspect of tires where you can't see on a visual inspection just walking around the car. In those cases, you can use things like this. They have what they call mechanics mirrors. Some of these are small enough you can actually put in your pocket and carry with you. And of course, they have lighted mechanics mirrors. Number 11, you need to identify opportunities to go on the offense. It's not just a defense game. You ought to be playing offense as well. And it may be necessary to bring quality care deficiencies or patient safety problems to the attention of the State Department of Health, Department of HHS, CMS, or OIMG, or all of the above, and keep the media apprised of these complaints. In Machias, Maine in 2008, I provided a town hall meeting at the request of citizens of Machias, Maine regarding their hospital situation, and the citizens there petitioned the Maine health officials, and HHS was apprised of their quality care and safety concerns, and the Department of HHS found the hospital did not meet Medicare conditions of participation, and their Medicare provider agreement was terminated. Nothing gets the hospital's attention more quickly than terminating their revenue stream from Medicare. The CEO of that hospital at the time that the town hall meeting was conducted is no longer there, and the hospital was subsequently placed in emergency receivership. Here is the actual public notice that was published in one of the main newspapers regarding this hospital and the fact that on a certain date, CMS was no longer going to make Medicare patients for patients that came to that hospital. Number 12, I can't tell you how many family relationships and marital relationships sham peer review has totally destroyed. In thinking about your defense if you are attacked by a sham peer review, you need to put some priority on personal health and relationships, and you need to schedule weekly relaxation time with your family, attend to your own sleep and nutrition, and basically, these are cases where, I don't know how else to put it, but when it looks like the forces of evil are sort of being marshaled against you, and it looks like you don't have a prayer, maybe what you need, and it's never too late, to get one. So in summary, be well prepared, be well organized and stay focused, take a multi-pronged approach to defense against sham peer review. That means an aggressive defense, an aggressive offense, and an aggressive communications media campaign, maintain financial viability, maintain personal health and relationships, and be appropriately watchful and cautious. Thank you.